Yes, male loneliness epidemic is also a female loneliness epidemic. That's right. I'm sure you've heard of the whole male loneliness epidemic thing, right? Whether it's on the news or YouTube, they like to talk about it. And but they mainly just talk about the men, right? That like men are lonely, right? But I'm going to argue that if men are lonely, then the women are also lonely as well. Okay, so let's start with the basic math, okay? Basic math. Simple numbers, because numbers don't lie, okay? So imagine a population of 100 men and 100 women, okay? 100 men and 100 women, all straight, all looking for a connection, okay? So, scenario one is monogamy, okay? If 70 men are lonely, okay, from what the titles say, they say that all men are lonely. So, sure, okay, let's assume 70 of them are lonely. So, meaning they're not in a relationship, okay? So, how many women are gonna be lonely then? 72, right? There's gonna be 70 women who are also lonely. Because every man who isn't dating means a woman who isn't dating him, right? If we are pairing them off by one on one, right? In this world, male loneliness and female loneliness are the same number, always. You can't have it the other way, right? So when you hear like, oh, men are dying of loneliness, right? Well, they're not mentioning the woman's side as well, because the math otherwise doesn't work. So now you might say, okay, so 70 men are not dating and lonely, and the other 30 aren't lonely, okay? So that means that there's gonna be 70 women who aren't dating, right? But what if you say, okay, what if the 30 men who are dating multiple women, right? Let's say each of those 30 men are dating 3 women, okay? So 30 multiplied by 3 is what? 90 women, right? So that means out of the 100 men, 30 are dating, and out of the 100 women, 90 are dating, right? In this case, what's happening is that only 10 women are completely alone, and the other 90 have someone to date, right? Now the numbers look different, and you could argue that this might be true. And this is where a lot of the manosphere content will point to, right? They will say, uh, see what's happening. There's this hypergamy, right? But here's the problem. Those 90 women are sharing a man who can't commit. That's basically what's happening. They're basically being used for companionship or sex. And that, I believe, is a different kind of loneliness. It's the loneliness of being surrounded by people and still feeling invisible. And those 90 women are also frustrated as well. They're also hurt. They're also wondering why they can't find a good man. They just express it differently. Maybe they won't say I'm alone, but they will say, why do all the men want me just for one thing? So yes, the numbers of complete isolation on scenario 2 is different, but the numbers of emotional loneliness are still high on both scenarios. So now why does the scenario 2 happen? It happens because a small number of men have pretty much learned to play the numbers game, right? They're charismatic or handsome or good at manipulation, right? They date multiple women simultaneously, promise commitment they don't deliver, and pretty much move on when they get bored, right? And those men are not really heroes, right? They're not winners, they're just part of this whole problem. And they are creating this dating market where many women become more guarded and they start generalizing that all men are players or and it makes it harder for the 70 other decent men to get a chance because women are now defensive, right? And at the same time, those 70 lonely men see the same few guys getting all the attention and they get bitter, right? They generalize that all women just want the chads, right? and they retreat further into loneliness and resentment, right? And both sides are just reacting to the small group of high volume daters. So instead of blaming those individuals, they just blame each other's entire gender. And that is the trap. And make sure you don't fall for it. So I believe that the real problem is that there are people out there who are ruining the dating market because they are exploiting the dating market for their own ego or their gratification. They're not looking for connection, they're just looking for like, validation, sex, or like rotating roster of options, right? And I believe they are like the gender war content creators, like secret weapon, right? Like the gender war content creators love this, right? They take those wounds and amplify them, right? They turn the bad individual behavior into like a proof, right? Here, there's a proof about an entire gender, right? And they use that to generalize and make negative content about others. So whether we're in the scenario one or scenario two, right, the solution is pretty much the same. The first thing that you have to do is that you have to stop blaming an entire opposite gender. Okay, that's very, very important to do. Second of all, you have to call out the exploiters, not genders as a group. Okay, that individual needs to be blamed, not the whole gender. Okay. And next, I think the next best solution to this is to build real connection skills. Okay, dating apps, don't use them. Okay, do not use those dating apps. They're I believe dating apps are one of the reasons why the scenario two tends to happen. So if we don't want it to happen, we should just stop using those dating apps, and instead we should be going to places where we can build genuine conversation skills, like genuine interactions. Like we need real world spaces where people can meet as humans, not as profiles on a Tinder or whatever, right? There needs to be community events or maybe basically places where men and women can just meet each other. So yeah, here's the bottom line. Yes, the sometimes you will hear things like male loneliness epidemic, but just know that if there are 70 men who are lonely, there's going to be at least 70 another women who are also just as lonely, right? Either they're completely alone or maybe trapped in a shallow, non-committal situations that leave them just as empty, right? The gender war wants you to think that, those 30 men are dating all the women, but don't believe it, man. The math always balances, okay? The pain is on both sides. It's not just like one side feeling pain. The pain is both sides. I always say this, which is if one gender suffered, the other gender suffered too, okay? So yeah. So if there's any other thing that you want me to talk about, make sure to write it on the comment and make sure to subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching.